Hi guys, in this video I want to show you how you can import a folder with Power BI in just 5 simple steps and sometimes a few more. Let's get started. In this case I have a folder with 3 CSV files which look like this. These are the orders of the year 2017. These are the orders of the year 2018 and these are the ones of 2019. And with Power Query I want to combine them into one big table. So for that, let's switch to Power BI Desktop. Here we are on Power BI Desktop, and now I can go to the Home ribbon. I can go to the Get Data. I don't want to click on the Excel sheet yet, or the CSV file, but instead I now go to More. This is step 1. I go to More and choose to get data from a folder. And then Connect. The second step is that I need to choose the folder which I want to import the CSV or Excel sheets from. The easiest way to get this part is to switch over to the Explorer and copy paste the path. Okay. Now Power BI Desktop is going to read from the folder and show me a listing of all the files in the folder. Now I can choose the button Combine and Transform Data. Now it's showing me the first file as a sample, the 2017 file. Everything looks okay. The delimiter is a comma and all the columns are nicely selected. I click OK. And if you switch over to the Power Query screen, sometimes that doesn't happen automatically, unfortunately. Then I see the 3 files, 2017, 2018 and 2019, nicely concatenated into one big table. And if I scroll down long enough, then I should be able to see also the orders of 2018. There it is. Nice. So here I see all the columns of all these CSV files nicely added up. So the only thing I need to do is maybe remove the file name, and then the last step is close and apply. And there it is, the orders per year table, also directly connected to the other tables via the customer ID and the product ID. And if we take a look at the table here, we see everything in one table. Okay, this was pretty simple, right? Straightforward. If you take a look at the steps in the PowerPoint, the first step we chose Get Data folder. Take the folder that we want to import the Excel sheets or CSV files from. Choose the folder on step 2. Step 3, click on Combine and Transform. And then step 4 depends on whether you import Excel or CSV. If you're importing Excel files, then you need to select the worksheet that you want to import from all these files. And then step 5 is close and apply. Okay, let's make it a little bit more challenging now, because this was a little bit too easy, didn't you think? Let's take a look at another sample. I have here a folder with sales targets, and each year people fill in the sales targets per month per category of certain products in Excel sheets. And these Excel sheets look like this. This is the 2018 Excel sheet, and here you see per month, per category, accessory and bicycle products, we see the targets, and in the last line we have a sum. I want to concatenate these 3 files, 2017, 2018, 2019 in one big table, so I can compare the actuals of the orders with the targets. Let's see what happens if I try to import this folder. We switch over to Power BI Desktop. I do the same 5 steps. I go to Home, Get Data, I choose More, I select the folder, connect, step 2. Then I copy paste the folder path from the Explorer. Here I see again the contents of the folder with some extra hidden files because the 2018 file is still open in Excel. I do combine and transform data. Now it's a little bit different because I need to select the worksheet in Excel. Okay, everything looking good. Now it's preparing the Power Query in the backend, but it's not switching to the Power Query window, so I have to do this manually. And now things don't look that great. I'm not finished yet. Let's take a look what's going wrong here. I see the contents of the 2017 targets file here, and below that 2018, and below that 2019. So that's good. But if you look at the numbers, then they're not great. Let's take a look at the left here, what actually happens under the covers. So this is my sales targets query that's concatenating the 3 files. But if you look up here, you see there's an extra folder created, transform file from sales targets. And this is the folder with the query that does the actual transformation of each specific file. If you take a look at the applied steps here on the right, I see the first step is the source. Here we can see what exactly happens. It's taking the files from the sales targets folder and we see the listing. Then we have the second step. It's filtering out the hidden files. You see the ones with the tilde. Here we have them and here they're filtered out. Then the third step, that's the most interesting part. It's invoking a custom function. And the name of this function is transform file number 2. Why is it called transform file 2? Because in this project I already have another transform file for the orders. So if you do it twice, import from folder, you get here a transform file number 2. And this is number 1. A little bit confusing if you ask me. But let's get back to the query. Here we have the sales targets. I was looking at the invoke custom function. It's invoking the function transform file number 2. And it's passing in the function the content of the file. So this binary of the file, it's passing it into this function, and this function returns, if you scroll to the right, a table. And inside this table we see the contents of that file, 2017, 2018 or 2019. So if we want to change something in this behavior, we need to switch over to the function. So this is the function, transform file. Here is where the magic happens. Here the content of the Excel sheets is passed in, but this is a little bit hard to read. I could go to the advanced editor and then I get a warning, don't do this, but okay, I'll still do it. And then I'll end up with the M code. So if you're a developer, you could enter this and change the transformation here. But that's not what I want to do. Instead of that, I'm going to the transform sample file, and this is like what it says. It's a sample file with which you can mess around with Power Query steps, and then that's being transformed in the M code in a function. So this is the actual query I need to change, and this is being executed for each file in the folder. So let's take a look at the steps in this function. First step, it's taking the Excel workbook with the parameter. That's the contents of the workbook. Then it's going to navigate to a specific worksheet, in this case sales targets. And now something interesting happens. It's always going to promote the headers. So it's going to use the first row as headers. And in this case that doesn't make sense, because the first 2 rows are just headers. I just want to remove them. So what you can do here, I can actually just remove this step, promoted headers, and then I can start over myself. So I can choose what is right for me. I can remove the rows remove the top rows. In this case, I want to remove 2 rows. Okay. Then I want to use first row as headers. And then I want to remove the sum. I can do this by filtering it out. Okay. Now I want to change the type to number of the month. And now what I want to do is unpivot these columns, because this is not a table but it's a matrix. On the rows I have the months, and on the columns I have the category of products. If I want to create a relationship from this category to the product category, I need to unpivot the data. You can do it like this. I can select the 2 columns, right mouse click, and then I choose unpivot columns. And then it's going to create it like this. So here this is the category column. And here we have the target. And that's actually a currency. So now I changed the transformation. If I look back to the M code of the function, then you will see it has changed this also. Here you see all the steps that I did in the previous sample query. It's removing the first 2 rows, it's going to promote the headers, it's going to transform the types, it's going to deselect the sum, it's going to unpivot the columns, it's going to do all the steps, but then written out in M code. And now if I go back to the original query, the sales targets query, now it's confused because some of the columns has changed, so the change type step doesn't work anymore. I can just remove it. And now suddenly I get a much nicer table. Somehow it's still confused about the types, so I have to reapply the types. That's a little bit annoying, but okay. And now for the last step, I want to extract the year from this name of the file. So for that I can use this magic button, add column from examples. From the selection, I can just type in whatever I want to extract from this column, in this case 2017. And it will figure out an M formula just to do that. Okay, this is the year. And I can drag it next to the month column. And now I don't need the original name of the file column anymore, so I remove this one. And now my table is ready, and I'm going to do close and apply. And if we take a look at the end result, this is how it looks like. And because I unpivoted the categories and moved it from columns into rows, I can now create a relationship with the products table. So this sales targets fact table, I can create a relationship between the category of the products and the category of the sales targets. And in this case it's a many-to-many relationship because neither of the columns has unique values. And then I need to choose a filter direction, and it's always from the dimension table to the fact table. So from products to sales targets. And then everything is okay. So to wrap it up, let's go back to the slides. The first thing we did is I showed you the 5 steps to import a folder, the simple way. And then if you want to mess around with the transformation of the specific file, then you can do some 4 advanced extra steps, meaning going to the transform sample file query. There you can mess around with the transformation. Then you're going to go back to the end query, and there you can remove the change type, and then you can do some extra steps if you want, like extracting the year from the name of the file or other things. And then you do close and apply. With that, I want to end this video. Thank you all for watching and hope to see you next time. Bye bye.